Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming and helping me with my project today. This is for I'm Mary Colby, but you guys all know me anyway. So this is for my CE 300 class on career development. And so what I'm going to talk about today is going to go over some of the stuff that we've already learned in the class. And so I'm going to just put my personal spin on it as well. So there's 7 topics I have to cover, and I hope I can cover everything in 8 to 10 minutes. Some of the things I'm going to talk about is defining a scholarly person, who my hero is, my everyday hero. I'm going to outline my academic and professional plan, just kind of in a nutshell. I'm going to explain some of the challenges that we have. It says social justice and multicultural issues, but that's a lot, so I'm just going to break it down to justice and diversity. That's a little bit easier for us, especially working at Mayo. I'm going to also discuss how being an educated person might affect you with your family, socially, maybe your job performance. Integrate some of the Erikson theory. If you guys have heard about that, I'll just explain his theory a little bit and then at what stage I'm at currently in my life. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about 2 key points that I learned from a book. This is the book that we're going to read for class, which is Luck is No Accident. So let's get started. Scholarly person, what I first think of when I hear scholarly person is someone who's smart, which, yes, they are smart. They're a person that has learned and has gained some type of mastery, has maybe a student or someone who's very intellectual. And I think of someone as one of my coworkers, Stephanie. She's always willing to learn, and someone who is looking for a challenge too in life. And then bringing the scholarly person to my everyday hero, which I chose my grandpa, and I didn't know that he had all of the degrees that he had until talking with him. And so my grandpa, he has his associate's degree, his bachelor's degree, and then he has his master's degree. And then between a master's and a doctorate is this ed spec degree for somebody that's in education. And so upon learning that, I realized why he was so willing to help me with schools, because he believes that school is very important. He is someone, he was a teacher for 33 years, and in the 33 years he was also an assistant principal. And my mom used to be a secretary at the school he taught at, so the big joke around there was his students would call down to the secretaries and say, "Where's Paul Jordan? Where's Mr. Jordan?" Well, my grandpa was the one that was in the break room all the time with coffee and looking for treats. So he was a really good teacher. He always had a special tie for different holidays and functions. He had a green suit for St. Patrick's Day. He's Irish. So needless to say, he was quite the entertainer for his students. He also he owned his own ambulance, and I remember playing it when I was younger, but he was a volunteer EMT, and with his ambulance then, he used to help with some of the transfers when he transferred patients, and then he also helped with first aid stations. He'd set those up. He was ski patrol, downhill ski patrol, for Coffee Mill Ski. I think that you guys know what that is, okay. He also would teach CPR. He's a CPR instructor for Red Cross, which he still does that, and that's how my husband and I are CPR certified, along with my parents and some of our other friends and family. So he keeps up with that. He also helped with he was a sheltered chairman, so he helped set up shelters for emergencies, so if there's flood, fire, he would help with those. And then most recently, I think I've told some of you already, but he got chosen to go on the honor flight for veterans. So it's a 1-day trip they fly out of Wisconsin and then fly to Washington, D.C. And my grandpa doesn't have a filter. He's 85, almost 86, so I just hope he keeps on his filter when he flies. So from there, let's see, I guess I'm going to talk about, so that's my scholarly person, everyday hero. And from there, I'm going to talk about my academic plan and kind of my professional plan. So my academic plan is basically to complete my bachelor's degree by fall of 2018, the end of 2018, so next December-ish. So I had to work with my counselor to create my plan and all the classes that I'm going to take, and hopefully I can stick to it. So then I also had to create a professional plan, which was some of the jobs that I'm interested in after I complete my bachelor's. And I'll talk a little bit about that later on, how it's hard for me to decide what career I want to get into because there's so many different opportunities. And sometimes those opportunities just show up. You know, it's not even in my plan, they just appear. So then, let me talk a little bit about, like I said, it's going to be justice and diversity. So justice is basically the principles which guide people in judging what's right and what's wrong. Diversity encompasses our race, gender, ethnic group, age, personality, cognitive style, sometimes our tenure. And so this relates a lot to our job, in that some of the so I took some educational classes that talked about bridging the generational gap, and can we talk? So having those difficult conversations with your peers or your supervisors. And so I hope to continue to take those classes to help me with my professional career. And you know, one of the stories that I remember is, I think of one of our most recent meetings, there was a gentleman that came in and said that he did an interview. There was 3 or 4 guys on the panel, and there was 1 female. And then they interviewed they had some male candidates and 1 female candidate. Well, the female person on the interview panel felt like she couldn't bring up all of her comments to the other male panel members because she thought maybe she would be judged as being biased toward the female candidate. And so she kind of kept some of her comments to herself, which I think they said kind of after everything was said and done that she should have spoken up a little bit more, that they appreciate the feedback. But there's some of those difficult conversations that we can't have, or sometimes feel like we can't have with our peers. And that's where that workshop, the Can We Talk, can come into play. So my next topic is just how being educated can sometimes affect you socially, family, with finances. And I think being scholarly and educated would benefit you. I think it also depends on how you're brought up. With my family, finances were always important, and my parents aren't what you would define as real scholarly. My dad has his 2-year, my mom never completed her college degree, but they always brought in that finances were important and going to school was important. And then I think it also helps you with being able to communicate with your peers and with your family if you're a little, have some education of some kind. Now my grandma, who never completed her high school, because back then you go to school and then you got to work on the farm when they need you and you're old enough to do stuff. So for her, she never finished high school or college, and so she just reads the newspaper every day and kind of taught herself how to read, and you know, she's very smart that way. So I also consider her as being someone that's scholarly. My next topic is the Erikson theory. Have you guys heard of that? So the Erikson theory, he came up with, it's a social development theory. So there's 8 stages of human development that we go through, basically from infancy to adulthood. And so this actually helps while I'm raising my kids, and then I think of myself when I was in those stages when I was younger too. According to Erikson, I'm in the young adult stage, and I'll explain what that is a little bit, but middle age stage for him is 35. So it starts at 35, so to think that I'm close to middle age is kind of strange, but I'm not there yet. So with the young adult stage, it's I seek companionship, love, I begin to settle down, which I'm married and have kids, house, car, starting a family, which now they're starting families later in life, so maybe toward the later, early to mid upper 30s. Seek deep intimacy and satisfying relationships, and then if those aren't successful, sometimes isolation might occur. Also significant relationships such as with marriage and having a partner and then friends and being able to make commitments. So then lastly, the book that we read, Luck is No Accident. This was actually really helpful. we were supposed to pick out 2 stories that related to us the most, which the stories I didn't really relate with as much as some of the content that was in each of the chapters. So my first chapter, in the first chapter I found something that was called Convert Frustrations into Opportunities, which I think is great, working here with some of our frustrations that come into play at work. But the one line that stood out to me the most was life rarely flows smoothly. And of course I started reading this chapter in January, and we had just implemented our new timekeeping system. We went from EPM to Clarity. So I remember thinking, this is dumb, I don't like this. But then I said, okay, step back, it's gonna be, it might be difficult now, but it's more of a learning opportunity for us, and how can we use this to our advantage? I think it's gonna be better for the department overall. Then the second one was actually in chapter 2 that I related to the most, and it was called Liberate Yourself from Unrealistic Expectations. So basically, our own careers were a matter of creating and capitalizing on unexpected opportunities. So that was kind of what I said earlier, was it's hard for me to pick a career because it might be something that I never thought of that kind of just drops in my lap sometime after I'm done with my bachelor's degree. So I did forget to tell you that along with all this and learning who's scholarly and different situations that impact our lives, my grandpa always says, when I ask him how he's doing, he always says, there's always room for improvement. So I'll say, Grandpa, how are you doing today? Well, I can't complain, but there's always room for improvement. So that's something that I live by almost on a daily basis, weekly basis, that no matter what I do, I can always improve on something. I can always make myself better, whether it's learning, being a better mom, wife, coworker, friend. So again, if you want any additional information on any of the stuff that I talked about, or if you want to read my book, just let me know. But again, just briefly, I went over kind of what a scholarly person is, who my everyday hero is. I outlined my academic and professional plan, defined what justice and diversity is. I also talked about being an educated person, the Erikson theory, and what stage I am in my life, and lastly, some of the key highlights that I got out of our book from this semester. Thank you.